Australia is well placed to capitalise on the global artificial intelligence boom due to our infrastructure, startup ecosystem and construction of new data centres. A new report released this week by Microsoft expects the AI economy in Australia to generate $18.8 billion in revenue by 2035. I caught up with Stephen Worrall, the Managing Director of Microsoft Australia and New Zealand, earlier this week.
Well, the last time I was here in Parliament House, we were talking about the safe and responsible use of AI, which we think is a precondition for the next conversation that's so essential for our country, which is how do we make the most of the economic opportunity that AI presents to Australia. The report that we've commissioned working with Mandala Partners and the Tech Council of Australia focuses on where in the tech stack that Australia should most likely and most logically focus its resources and use our competitive advantages to ensure that we maximise the economic impact for Australia in the many years to come.
Yeah, well, when you think of Australia, what are our big advantages? Our economy, mining economy, agriculture-based economy, maybe a bit of healthcare space as well. I mean, how do those sectors sort of stack up? Are they the areas to focus on here?
They are, but I might start with the key finding in the research, which is, first of all, to look at the composition of the AI economy and to start thinking about AI and the tech sector as a vertical in its own right. So we start there, and then I'll come to the question in relation to mining, healthcare, financial services, and the composition of our economy as we see it today. The report talks to the tech stack, Ed, and it identifies several elements. And very specifically then says there are three elements within that tech stack where we have competitive advantage that we as a nation should logically focus our effort. Data centres, data, and then applications. In fact, applications, and I'll talk to each of these three as we get into the conversation, is the largest, in fact, bigger than data and data centres put together. Data centres has featured heavily in the press and the national discourse recently with what we're seeing with organisations like AirTrunk and CDC and others. Also connects with the investment that we made this time last year, $5 billion in digital infrastructure here in Australia. So we're already seeing that play out in front of us. The report goes on to talk about the importance of data, how you use data to train models, to build algorithms, to create services that then leverage the AI technology. And then, of course, applications, which are the opportunity to then use that data and to use the tech stack, the data centres, to deliver new AI services across our economy. So that's the composition of the AI economy, Ed. To then your question, you bet, we're seeing AI being applied deeply in healthcare, in financial services, in mining, in every part of our economy, depending on those elements of the tech stack that we've referenced. A great example in healthcare is an organisation called Analyse.ai, who are using data, Australian data and Australian know-how to create services for radiologists. In fact, their service, they've built this over the last 4 years. 1 in 2 radiologists in Australia now use this service. 1 in 3 radiologists in the UK use this service. It is an awesome opportunity for us to create services that we then export to the world using Aussie know-how.
Yeah, you mentioned the data centres. Obviously, there's been a lot built in the past decade or so in Australia, but how do we stack up when it comes to constructing and putting out more and more data centres around the country compared to other places in the Asia-Pacific region?
Well, this is one of our great advantages, Ed, and the report talks to this. It talks to the resources that we have. We have so many assets that have helped us as a country economically over decades. And as we think about this new economy, this new AI economy, we see similar advantages and opportunities for us. Specifically in data centres, of course, we have access to land. We have access to renewable energy sources, which is increasingly becoming one of the big issues as it relates to the construction of these data centres. And there are countries around the world that have many, many more constraints than we face in regards to those two elements. We also have proximity to Asia, which I think is one of the big findings in the report, because it talks to the capability that we have and the opportunity we have, if we get this right, to build the infrastructure here, to create the platform for these services, to provide export services across the Asia region.
And is the current level of government policy working to help really foster this AI economy in Australia, or do we need some potential changes to legislation or just changes of focus from government to really get things ramped up even more?
I think we're making great progress as it relates to data centres, and I think you're seeing part of the reason we made our investment decision last year was the close collaboration we have with the Australian government to work on the approvals and of course the necessary discussions to streamline the delivery of the 9 new data centres that we announced last year. And I'm happy to say we're making great progress in the construction and delivery of those data centres. But it's also fair to say when you look at the sector and you hear others talk about their collaboration with government, we're seeing great progress. Of course, there's room for improvement in terms of planning approvals and the like, but we think the level of discussion with government in state and federal levels has been very strong, and that's part of the reason why you're seeing the investments that we have announced and others have announced in this part of the world. Of course, as we go forward, AI data centres are going to require more and more capacity, more access to renewable energy, as I've mentioned, and that's going to require even closer collaboration with government to ensure that we can meet the demands of the future.
When we started this, you said there has been a fair bit going on, and obviously there's a new president that will be starting next year in America. Donald Trump has been re-elected. Do you think he'll have much impact on the artificial intelligence economy or sway over the tech sector in America? I know he seems very close with Elon Musk, for example. What do you think it means for technology and the AI economy overall, Trump being re-elected?
Oh, look, I don't have any unique insight to offer here in regards to what the new administration will do in relation to the use of AI, other than to say it's very obvious that the United States government and both sides of the House understand the economic opportunity that it presents to the US economy. Very obvious in regards to the settings that have been established over many years that have helped to foster the environment where organisations like Microsoft and others have continued to invest deeply in delivering these services to the US market and, of course, around the world. I don't see that changing because, quite obviously, that's an economic imperative for the US because it's a great driver of productivity and innovation in their economy. And therein lies a pointer for us in leveraging this moment in helping to direct these investments in the US to aid and grow the US economy. That's the moment for us. Of course, we're a unique jurisdiction. We need to think carefully about how we want to deploy these services in our community. That's why I said at the start, a safe and ethical approach to this conversation has to be a precondition for then the economic dialogue. But we then need to rapidly follow that up with, okay, do we have the right settings in our country? We aren't going to be a producer of some of these AI services. We can create many, of course, but we need to think carefully about our role in the digital supply chain, our role in the new AI economy to maximise the benefit for Australians so that in a decade, 2 decades from now, we can look back and see the benefits that have been delivered in terms of productivity for our economy, which we know is such a big issue, as well as delivering prosperity for Australians across the spectrum.
And you were the managing director of Microsoft in 2017 under the former Trump administration. Did anything jump out at you as particularly memorable over those few years that he was leading America?
Nothing specifically, no. I think it's fair to say that we're a business that works with the government of the day, and our focus is on running our business and meeting our customers' demands. My job is to ensure that I do the very best that I can for Australia, representing the assets and the resources that Microsoft can bring to bear. I feel the more investment that I can bring here through my team to Australia to help deliver these services and help work with partners. I want to stress the fact that this is a collaborative effort. This report has been put together with the Tech Council. We're a participant, but it's about an economy-wide effort to ensure that we as a nation make the most of this unique opportunity. Productivity is at record lows. Innovation is the driver of productivity. We know that this technology can help address many of those challenges, and we think this is a moment that we can't miss.
Well, Stephen Worrall, Managing Director, Microsoft Australia, New Zealand, thanks for your time today.
My pleasure.